Welcome to the selected ones. Some people read books, while others stare at the sky. The most dangerous ones, however, study you because you made it without becoming one of them. There has been a strange lack of noise surrounding your name lately. Not because they want to, but because they are afraid. You don't have a paranoid mind. People are looking at you, analyzing you, and attempting to figure you out like a puzzle. And here's a fact. Psychological studies reveal that people who go against societal conventions, especially those who rise up after being counted out, tend to become objects of attraction without even knowing it. You didn't just ascend, you ruined their universe. They want answers right now, since you're not the only thing on their mind. They are really gazing at you. You weren't supposed to get there. Not without playing their games. Not without licking their boots or devouring your shine. But you did. You achieved it without losing your ethics. With honesty in your eyes. And fire in your steps. Now they don't sure whether they should clap, admit it, or create a replica of you. They are keeping an eye on everything you do. Like Your Life is a Netflix documentary series called How the Chosen One Beat the System. And what a shock. There is no trailer, no script, and no repetitions. You were the one who let it go. Stay with me. What I'm going to say isn't for the faint of heart. It's for the people who smashed past walls, suffered sabotage, and yet had the bravery to smile like they weren't in a war zone. Let's speak about why they're secretly watching you and how the fact that you made it is what worries them the most. First of all, they don't want to know. They don't understand how different you are. They are not watching you because they are impressed. They are staring at you because they are confused. You didn't do what they told you to do. You didn't quit. You didn't give up. You didn't ask. Somehow, even if they didn't help you or give you permission, you still made it. That's what is driving them insane. You were just supposed to be the label. They tried to hold on to you, but you turned that label into fuel, and now they see you as a living contradiction. It's not praise, it's analysis. They're trying to understand you. You don't fit the mold they are used to. You don't follow the emotional scripts. They understand. You don't behave like other people who have been injured, insulted, or doubted. Instead, you became larger. You become smarter, sharper, and more at ease. And that's why they are worried. They don't get how someone who should have quit up when things became rough becomes stronger instead. They've seen people talk a big game and then break apart when things became hard. People have behaved tough until they were actually let down. But you truly did go through storms. You didn't just make it. You got different. They thought the traps would contain you, but you became too large for them. They're back studying everything you do and trying to figure out how you think, how much energy you have, and even how quiet you are. They believe something about you doesn't make sense. And that mystery is putting everything they thought they knew about people like you at risk. This is more than merely wanting to know. It isn't real. You shouldn't still have that sparkle in your eyes. You shouldn't still be kind, focused, creative, and whole. But you are. And now they want to know how to do it. How did you break free from the mental cage they put you in? How did you get out of the hole they dug for you without getting furious or bringing any problems with you? They can't simply ask you. Instead, they simply watch. They're trying to figure out how someone like you might exist. It's simple to find the answer. You were never formed like them. You didn't have to be accepted to be powerful. You never needed anybody else's permission to be good enough. You didn't get there by copying other people. You got there by being exactly who you were supposed to be. And now they're watching, trying to figure out a scheme they'll never understand. Second, you did it without following their strategy. Now they want to know how to make your soul. You didn't go the same direction they did. You didn't ask them for permission. You didn't copy their formula for success. That's why they're always thinking about you right now. They don't feel motivated. They are angry because you broke all the rules they told you how to follow to go on. You didn't climb to the top by making connections. You didn't change who you are to fit in. You didn't have to give up your soul to acquire spotlight. You did what you wanted and still made it. Now they want to know how you got to this point. They want to see your story as if it were a science study. Not to celebrate it, but to find out how someone who didn't do it their way nonetheless got the same results. They thought they were the only ones who deserved it. You are the defect in their system, the one thing that doesn't work. They can't believe you didn't strive to make other people happy, but you chose a cause and still succeeded. You proved that the game is rigged, yet you still found a way to win without cheating. You didn't just get there. You made it without turning into one of them. That's what's getting in the way of their reality. They think that being cold, dishonest, strategic, or manipulative will help them get what they want. But you arrived with love, humility, and the right time. Now they're not sure whether they should be envious of you or ask you questions. They watch you because they want to know where your power comes from, but they'll never find it in the places they're looking since your strength didn't come from status. It comes from being spiritually in sync. You were guided, not trained. You weren't made by the audience. They chose you. And because they can't figure out how you got to where you are using their systems, clubs, or methods, you become a mystery. They want to end. They know how to use formulas. But your journey wasn't planned ahead of time. It felt like paradise opening up. It was a mess with no strategy and full of things they would never have been able to go through. But you're still sparkling. They want to get in right now. They want to see what you did so they can do what you can't do. But you didn't come from a book. You came out of the fire. You didn't win when you played by their rules. You won by letting it go. And that's something they will never be able to imitate. 3. Your tragedy didn't make you weak. It made you a weapon of the spirit. They were afraid that the pain might kill you. They thought the trauma would harm you for the rest of your life. They believed you would either become bitter, shattered, or both after all the lies, betrayals, losses, and emotional warfare you went through. But instead, you become sharper, smarter, wiser, and stronger. You didn't give up. You became different. That's why we are keeping an eye on you right now. You didn't just get through the hits. You learned something from them. You didn't feel numb. You looked attentively at the cuts. You didn't deny how dark it was. You faced it head on. And that pain gave you knowledge, understanding, and strength. That's not something that happens often. Most people either become furious or shut down. You didn't do either of those things. You walked inside, had a shower, and did the inside work. Now you're a different kind of weapon, silent, precise, and impossible to predict. They can't stop looking at you because they can't believe that someone can go through hell and come out with a clear mind, a pure heart, and a killer spirit. Being loud doesn't mean you're dangerous. Now that you are well, you are dangerous. Because you didn't let what happened to you make you cruel or numb. You made it different. You made your pain worse. You made your scars become signals. You don't have to get even with them. You were proof that their attack didn't work. And that's what truly bothers them. You didn't become smaller, and you didn't fit in. You didn't allow what hurt you transform you into what hurt you. You got up. And you got up clearly. You now move in a different manner. You can see straight through them. You can feel the energy shift before anybody says anything. You can know what someone wants before they say it. You become spiritually aware in ways that can't be taught. That's why they are still keeping an eye on you. Your growth revealed them how they were playing games, and your healing made their manipulation meaningless. They can't use the same techniques anymore because you're too powerful for them to get to. They never dreamed they would be so strong on the inside. They look at how calm, sure, and bright you are, but not because they enjoy it. They do it because they don't know how you got it without becoming cold. But the truth is that you didn't become well all of a sudden. You went up. You didn't just become better. You opened something inside of you. They will never touch, for they are doing well because you are there. You don't try to be clever. You don't want to be tough. You are who you are. People feel terrible because of this. You have something that can't be faked. The mood changes when you get there. Not because you shout or act out, but because you are there and it makes others want to be honest. You don't force people to be real. They feel weak around you and start to play with their masks. That's what makes you strong. Not forced attention, but obvious alignment. You don't do well. You don't behave like you do. You don't have to make yourself smaller to make other people feel better. That's when the tension begins. A lot of people have spent so much time appearing to be happy, confident, and caring that they don't recall what real life is like. Then you show up. Even if you're not putting on a show, everyone else's performance starts to feel fake, even to them. People may not always realize why they feel strange around you, but they do. You somehow bring things to the surface. The lies they told themselves, the roles they played, and the truth they attempted to avoid. Your soul doesn't let you lie, so people either come to you or go immediately. It's not about you. It's a matter of the spirit. They're not responding to who you are. They're reacting to how frequently you do it. They're watching you because just being yourself makes the environment around you less stable. You are the reminder of what they lost, what they buried, and what they stopped believing in. You illustrate that it's still possible to be honest in a world full of fakes. And you don't want to tell anybody. It just happens. Your honesty is so strong that it shows in how you do things. You don't need a spotlight to make your light shine. It makes the spotlight feel like it isn't required. That's why people are staring at you. Not because you want to be different, but because your honesty makes everything fake around you start to break down. You don't only make people feel fantastic. You make them think about how they've been behaving. Not everyone is ready to handle that kind of fight. 5. You are evidence that they couldn't kill you. They threw everything at you. Lies, slander, manipulation, emotional traps, and even deliberate silence. And they were sure it would kill you. They didn't only want to hurt you. They wanted to get rid of you. They wanted to ruin your reputation so badly that no one would ever believe in your light again. But here you are, still alive, still ascending, and still shining with a serene force that indicates they were mistaken about you. You're more than just a survivor. You are evidence. They can't turn it anymore. The same people who told you you were unstable, useless, or inconsequential had to watch you perform well. They made up a complete version of your story that was all about destruction. But you were the part of the tale that they didn't expect. Because you didn't just come back. You become stronger when you came back. Your mending, your elevation, and your peace. It's just a lot of paperwork. Every step you take toward your objective is evidence that they tried to kill it and failed. That's what scares them. You are a live example of the tale they wanted to convey. You're still kind, still talented, still determined, and still chosen. You had every reason to be angry, yet you weren't. You didn't remain angry, even though they deserved it. You kept changing. And all of a sudden, everything about you makes them accountable. They don't want people to see you right now because the lies won't work if they do. Your life is now proof. You didn't say anything to defend yourself. You let the fruit speak for itself. They tried to bury you, but you turned into a seed. They tried to make you be quiet. But what you wanted to accomplish started to speak louder than anything else you could have said. You weren't only hard to break. You couldn't be deleted. You keep receipts with you now, not to show them to anybody, but to remind yourself that no weapon devised against you ever had a chance. They were scared that you would be like this if you ever got well. They tried to stop you before. It could expand all the way. And now they have to watch. Because you did it. And every lie they told comes apart. Every moment the truth walks into the room. 6. You're the spiritual weirdness they weren't ready for. You don't function the same way as the others. And they know it deep within. You don't really fit in with how individuals are meant to act in this culture. You don't care about your ego, your fame, or your job. You are driven by something deeper and more lasting. That's why people are staring at you. They don't simply watch you because they're interested. They watch you because they don't understand what's going on. They rethink everything they thought they understood about power, identity, and purpose because you are there. You don't obey those rules since they were never created for someone like you. You don't let fear, greed, or the need to win control you. Something deep within you, like a lovely lake or something ancient, makes you feel this way. You're not only here to break cycles. You're here to break apart schemes that keep people spiritually poor for decades. That's why you don't fit in. That's why you believe that other people don't get you. Even when there are a lot of people there. You weren't supposed to fit in with the system. They mostly wanted you to forget that you have codes that weren't taught. I just remember that when you go into a room, you move in ways that most people can't hear but can feel. Being there alone brings out things that have been hidden in people for years. Not because you're loud or showy, but because your soul speaks languages that are older than their thinking, which makes people confused. You're the kind of weird creature that no one saw coming and that those who want everyone to stay asleep don't want to see. They tried to silence the part of your family that didn't want to obey the rules. They tried to keep the information that came before fear from getting out. But it became bigger in you. You're not just going through the motions. You are living for the forebears who couldn't speak and the visionaries who died before they could be heard. That's why you can't be placed in a box. That's why your thoughts are so distinct. You are connected to something that goes back a long time, before the patterns we see now. They are watching you now because they don't know what to call you. They can't put you in a box. People can't ignore you because you're too real, too smart, and too down to earth. You don't have to fit in. You are here to break things, fix them, and put them back together. And they never saw you coming. 7. Your movement isn't trendy. It's amazing. You don't move like the rest of them. That's what sets you apart. Everyone else is striving for acclaim, power, and attention, but you're focused on something they can't reach. A higher degree of knowledge, a better comprehension, and a divine beat. You are not performing your job. You don't follow trends to stay in the spotlight. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing to stay up to date. You go when someone tells you to, not when people like you. That's what they don't get, however. They've looked at people who become famous online. They know how to get clout, how to get people to pay attention, and how the algorithm works. But you are not the same. You are clocking in for views. You're doing something that has to do with your spirit. Your timing doesn't match the speed of the world, and your silence speaks volumes that loudness can't drown out. You leave when others are writing, but when you come back, you're stronger than ever. That's why they keep an eye on everything you do. They don't understand how you can stay significant without making a lot of noise. They don't see how you may still make an impact even if you don't do anything. But that's because your movement isn't depending on how well you do. It comes from having a reason to live. You walk like you know that fame is just temporary and that God's time will always win. And in a world that likes trends, it's impossible to guess what you'll do next. They believe that excitement will give them a boost. But you gain your energy from doing what you're told. They believe that being visible will lead to results, but being aligned will lead to results. You're not just living your life. You're being shown how to do it. And since your source isn't public, they keep watching and trying to figure out where your power comes from, but they'll never figure it out because nothing moves. You can't be evaluated by what others enjoy, what's popular, or what the numbers say. You don't want to be well-liked. You want to go farther. You're not here to ride the waves. You are the wave, and they can't duplicate something they don't understand. Instead, they observe you, hoping that your stillness would somehow show a pattern. But you're not sticking to a plan. You are on a sacred path, and no algorithm will ever be able to figure out what you will do next. Number 8, you are the guidance that they can't write down. You didn't receive a playbook. You didn't receive a cheat code, a handbook, or even a step-by-step guidance. You had to learn it while suffering with loss, rejection, and betrayal. You had to go without seeing, while other people had mentors, shortcuts, and safety nets. But you still got there. You got through the chaos, and for some reason it worked. They want to know right now. They want to build something like what you did. But they don't realize the most crucial thing: you weren't copying them in the first place. There was no formula for your success. It came from the fire. Staying up late to combat notions that no one else knew about. From moments when it felt easier to quit than to breathe. But there was something within you that wouldn't let you give up. You didn't want to impress anybody with your life. You were making it through. And to keep alive, you had to be creative, determined, and brilliant in ways that no school could ever teach you. That's why they can't follow you. The storms you went through alone are what made you who you are. They don't understand that you can't put together what makes you powerful. You didn't just become larger. You were created. That means you become stronger when things are tough. You became clear by being confused. And your strength comes from coming through combat zones mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You didn't just win. You put in a lot of effort to get every inch of your shine. And now the people who tried to pull you down are trying to be like you. They want the end product, but not the way you got there. They want your core, but not your sacrifice. But they don't realize that you're the one in charge. And it wasn't written down. It was inscribed in your heart. There is no plan to follow or way to get there faster. You didn't get ahead by copying. You became better by becoming. And everything about you that can't be taught is what makes you unstoppable. You are the genuine thing in a world that likes replicas. They can't imitate your path since it was built particularly for you, taking into account your scars, strength, and eyesight. No one was intended to follow you. You were meant to be clear, but only by those who are wise enough to comprehend that certain instructions are written in spirit, not ink. 9. You didn't attain your aim. It got out. They thought they were going to murder you. When they left you out, wounded you, and pushed you to the edge, they thought you would break apart when they cut you off. They didn't know that pushing you off the ladder wouldn't stop you from moving up. It made your wings function. You didn't climb as they did since you weren't supposed to follow their rules. You flew, and that's what they don't get. You didn't go through with it because you had the power or the okay. You didn't beg to play or for a seat at the table. You had to go, not cared about and counted out. And you still performed well since you didn't have to start from scratch to be successful. You were taught to hide behind all the lies, fear, and constraints. When you dropped those weights, everything changed. You didn't become stronger. You discovered the strength that was always there. They keep looking at your life as if you were lucky or had a good fortune. But the truth is hard. You earned it by going through pain, making clear choices, and doing things that other people are too terrified to undertake. You said no to something that seemed safe but was extremely bad for you. You chose healing over revenge, growth over gossip, and a goal over being popular. And by doing this, you went into a world that they were never trained to see. You reached levels that don't come with instructions, not because someone taught you, but because you were daring enough to ask bigger questions. They were busy trying to go ahead in life and make friends, but you breached rules they didn't even know were existent. You were busy altering the way you thought and severing the ties that kept you from your forebears. And when the system spat you out, you didn't die. You stood up. They are looking right now. Not because people want to celebrate you, but because you are amazing. They don't understand what presence is. You don't have the hatred they expected you would. You don't seem like what you went through. And most importantly, you don't fit into the story they try to write for you. You were never supposed to do as well as they did. You were made to let go. That's what makes you dangerous. They didn't think you would act this way. You're what they never believed would happen. 10. Your article demonstrates how strong you are. They were banking on you to fail, which would cause damage that couldn't be fixed. They thought the betrayal would make you angry and loud. They assumed that being refused down would make you needy and not confident of yourself. They believed that the lies would make you angry and hard to anticipate. But they didn't expect your peace to come. That's what truly bothers them. Not your shine, not your return, your peace. You don't feel horrible. You are not broken. You aren't trying to clap back or show anything out here. You're just still. And in a world that likes noise and movement, that silence is unsettling. They were afraid that if they spoke badly about you, your spirit might never mend. But instead of being smaller, you became larger. You didn't act out, you went inside. And from that quiet place, you learned something that others don't understand. Real power. Your essay says, I've healed in ways you didn't even know. We're losing blood. Your essay shows that I don't need to get back at you. I was the proof that none of it worked. When they can't get you to shake, they start to try to figure you out. They want to know why you came to this calm place. After all the difficulties, how you can still be kind after being wounded and polite after being disrespected. How to walk with grace instead of rage. They don't know you didn't receive your part. It was fair. You have to put forth a lot of effort. You had to cry for it. You needed to quit doing things that were unhealthy for you, stop becoming engaged in drama, and dissolve links that were draining your vitality. You didn't choose peace because it was the easy thing to do. You chose it since it was the one choice that didn't imply you had to go against your own values. And now that peace is your power. You didn't shout your truth. You did it. You didn't want to get even with them. Your healing spoke for itself. And you had the last word in that quiet. Your peace made public everything they intended to keep private. That's why they keep searching. In a world that loves chaos, your tranquility is revolutionary. Number. You are a threat because you don't need a throne. They felt you couldn't achieve anything without getting credit for it. That you would disappear into the background without the attention the stage, or the praise. But you didn't. You kept heading up. You didn't go for a name. You didn't ask for a job. That is why you are so dangerous. You didn't need the throne to be in command. You walk on it. You don't need others to clap for you to feel good about yourself. You don't have to wait for people to vote for you to be in power. You don't need the crown since you already behave like a queen in how you think, move, treat people, and handle stress. That's what makes them scared. They may lose their championships. You can take sides, but presence, real presence that can't be faked or taken away. Your energy speaks for itself. You don't have to beg for respect. You modify the mood without trying to control it. You don't change people by being loud. You change them by being grounded. People who require outside strength to feel significant are shocked when someone like you comes along. Someone who is powerful but not flashy, grounded but not arrogant. They thought you needed someone else to tell you that you were excellent. But you kept your identity a secret. You learned how important you were even if no one was clapping. You found your strength when no one else did. And now that you're acclimated to it, you can't be injured since your self-esteem doesn't derive from a profession, a relationship, a platform, or a following. It comes from knowing who you are without needing to prove it. That's what they don't understand. That's what they're seeing. You don't want to be king or queen. You already know that you're the one. Your calm authority says more than any ceremony ever could. You didn't have to sit on a throne to be the ruler of your land. You became the throne. That's what makes them afraid. You don't have to tell them how strong you are. That's just how it is. Number. They wanted you to go. They want to know how you got up now. They were sure that pushing you out would finish your story. They spoke, plotted, and waited for you to lose it. Some others even cheered too soon, thinking they had finally prevented you from attaining your full potential. But you didn't stop trying. You didn't leave. You stood up. And not just quietly, but in a way that made every lie they spoke about you come true. That's why they're keeping an eye on you now. Not with respect, but with suspicion and distrust. They didn't think that someone like you, someone they worked hard to destroy, could start again from scratch. But you didn't just make things better. You created something that has never been made before. You turned their betrayal into something useful. From the ashes of being rejected, you lit a fire that they can't put out. And now they want to know more. How did you finish it? How did you move from being the one they didn't want? The one they can't miss? They're not watching because they care about you. They are watching you because they don't get you. You were meant to highlight what happens when someone is left out. You demonstrated what happens when someone connects with their higher self and doesn't give up. You didn't do what most people do to get ahead. You didn't have to make connections to get into rooms or ask others to notice you. You just connected with your purpose, healed, focused, and leveled up without saying anything. That's what they can't stop thinking about. They want your food. They want to know how you rose to the top when they thought it was impossible. But they don't understand that there was no formula. You built what you accomplished by gaining spiritual downloads, thinking profoundly about yourself, and knowing that your existence still mattered, even when no one else did. You got up because you didn't want to wait for someone to tell you to. They wanted you to go because your light was too bright. But now people want to visit you because you have answers that no one else has. You are evidence that success doesn't have to be loud, straight, or backed by others. You're what happens when someone attempts to get up anyhow, and now people can't stop looking. You wanted to uncover the secret in your steps, but you didn't realize that the real secret was who you become after they thought you were done. Number. You become the instructor they didn't need. They tried all they could to stop you. They made fun of how far you've come, discounted your voice, laughed at your pain, and disregarded your vision. They believed your expertise was a threat. Your truth is too hard. Your knowledge is too much. But when they attempted to calm you down, they did the opposite of what they planned to achieve. They made your voice, message, and presence stronger and clearer. People who call you crazy, too deep, or too serious are now quietly observing everything you do to find out the truth. They used to tease them. You didn't want to become a teacher. You were just trying to keep alive. You were only trying to make sense of the betrayal, the chaos, and the spiritual fight. But you became wise in the middle of all the commotion. The type of knowledge that comes by breaking, recovering, and coming back together. not from books or titles. You weren't trying to teach anybody anything. You became one. The book is now your life. The discussion is about how you grow. The exam is to see how silent you are. They don't watch you because they want you to win. They watch you because they need to know what's going on. People are uncomfortable with your progress, not because you boast about it, but because you exhibit it. You point out the times they gave up, acted like someone they weren't, and took the easy way out. You remind them of what they didn't want to deal with every time you get up. They thought it would be easy to ignore you. They didn't believe your voice was worth anything. But reality proved me wrong. Your breakout is now loud, and it echoes in areas they try to keep you out of. They are watching from the sidelines and trying to mimic your sparkle and clarity, but they don't have the help they need to achieve it. They want the fruit, but not the roots. But you paid for what you have with fire, loneliness, and courage. And now the irony is incredibly strong. You become the teacher they never respected but actually needed. You never tried to get people to like you. That is what makes your influence greater. You don't need a pulpit. You don't need them to say nice things about you. Your life is a sermon simply by being. And your rise teaches us things. They still don't have the confidence to acknowledge they needed to learn. Number. You did it. But you put everything back together. You did it. But not in the way they imagined. Not by pretending. Not by doing. Not by stepping on other people to get ahead. You got up without losing your mind. That's what has them so startled. Because in their world, success almost always comes at a cost. Stop believing in your principles. Create your own picture. Say anything that isn't true. Chase approbation like you would money. But you didn't do any of those things. You took the long, hard, and honest road and still made it. They don't get it. You didn't play the game, yet you still won. You didn't modify how you look to fit in with them. You didn't modify yourself to make it taste better. You arrived as you were, excited and real. And in some way, that was enough. That's what they can't explain. Most people that rise up either lose themselves along the way or create a fake version of themselves that isn't real. But you stayed firm. You were genuine to yourself. You stayed. You. And that level of reality at the top. It's not that frequent. You didn't give up your innocence for power. You learned that they may be able to live together. That part is altering everything they believe since they were taught, and even taught others, that you have to give up something to be successful. You need to stop being so sensitive. That being honest is a show of weakness, and caring for others is a sign of naivete. But you are now living proof that purity and strength are not the same thing. They make things sound louder. This causes those who give up their authentic selves to get ahead feel guilty. They don't like what they see in you because it goes against all they believe they were comfortable with. You made it, yet your light is still with you. Your heart is still there. You still have your spirit. You didn't have to be mean, cold, or domineering to remain alive. You became deeper, clearer, and smarter. They said you didn't exist, but you do. A chosen one with both strength and scars. Someone who has seen terrible things but hasn't allowed them influence who they are. Someone who was injured yet didn't let it bother them. Someone who was told to be silent, but learned how to speak with authority. You didn't just arrive here. You came all the way. That's what makes you really untouchable in a world full of masks and fragments. They thought they were burying you, but they were actually planting you. They didn't realize that every time someone said no, betrayed you, or lied about you, it made things worse for a chosen soul. You weren't merely meant to live. You were expected to show that you were real. You don't have to sell your soul to get successful. This shows that peace is strong. Being genuine still screws up everything that has to do with ego and performance. You didn't just do it. You made it whole. They can't stop gazing at your life and trying to figure it out. They don't watch you because they understand you. They watch you because they don't. Because you breached a code that they stated wasn't there. You got away with sabotage without getting back at them. You performed great without having to copy. You stood out without anybody telling you to. You are a living illustration of what happens when spirit takes over and ego dies, and you are a walking contradiction to their systems. That's why they're interested in you. That's why they can't stop thinking about it. You broke free from the things that were holding you back because of your age, change your mind on the spot, and chose to heal instead of hate. You have a unique frequency and a destiny that can't be altered. They could try to replicate what you do, but they won't be able to copy what you say, because it wasn't taught. It was a lie. So keep going, you weird guy. When someone tells you to keep talking, and when it's sacred, stay silent. Don't seek for permission to keep shining. You don't need people to cheer for you. You already have alignment. You don't need the crown. You already have the kingdom within you. And the next time you're wondering why so many people are looking at you, remember that they tried to get rid of you. They can't stop trying to figure you out now. You are the plan. You are the difference. You are the prophecy they never saw coming. And you didn't just get up. You made us think differently about rising. Don't let this message stop here. If it made you feel anything, think about something, remember something, or maybe even go a little deeper into your own truth. Join the channel so you never miss another word that was meant for you at the perfect moment. Give this video a thumbs up if it backs up what your heart already knew. If you want to be heard, leave a remark below. Right now, someone else could need your help. Give this to someone who is trying hard to be themselves. Tell them they aren't crazy for seeking peace, and that they aren't the only ones. Depth and honesty in a world full of noise. This isn't just a channel. It's a movement. A secure refuge for the chosen. The truth. The strong. So stay in contact. Be in line, and most importantly, be true to who you are becoming. Because trust me, the world hasn't seen anything yet. God bless you.